Hey, I'm Nina Chantel, and this is Unmuted. So here we are, episode 5. That means it's officially been over a month that I launched my Unmuted with Nina Chantel podcast. But let me be real with you for a second here. I almost did not hit record today. And it's not because I didn't have anything to say. I think we all know that I've always got something to say if you know me. But it's not because I wasn't feeling it either, but because I started to feel something I didn't expect, like a quiet pressure, like a slow little whisper in the back of my head, like, now what? Like, yeah, Nina, you spoke, you told your truth, you survived Newark, the rain, the hallway, the exhaustion, your mom cried. Your best friend grabbed your hand. You were feeling, you made people feel something. But now what? What happens after the praise? You ever think about that? And this could be anything in your life. And when I think about saying that hypothetical question out loud, what happens after the praise? I think about how things slowed down in my career with radio. Although on the outside looking in, people might feel like, no, you were always busy, you're always doing something. And yeah, I've been blessed to say that, yes, I've always been busy in my radio career. But what happens after the praise? What happens after the DMs slow down? After you stop doing 4 or 5, different radio stations at a time. And I started thinking about this Unmuted with Nina Chantel podcast. Like, what happens after the streams normalize and that newness wears off? Like, can you still show up? This is me asking myself, because there was a moment when I was on radio and things started to feel more robotic, as everything starts to feel now that we're in this time where life is changing. AI is doing this and that. And even with radio, things got a little different. I don't know if you noticed, but some of these radio personalities that you hear in one city, you hear in multiple markets. That happens. Life changes in different ways in media. That's what happened. And so for a moment, it was like, yeah, I was showing up in front of the microphone every day. But it's different when you're sitting in a studio and you're live. Like, I remember being live in Chicago. It was a different feeling. There was excitement. There was interaction. It didn't feel robotic, like I was doing this momentous thing every single day, showing up in front of a microphone and, okay, now you're going to be doing San Francisco. Today, you're going to be doing LA as well. And then tomorrow you'll be doing Chicago as well. And that's how things went for a minute. So when I ask myself out loud, can you still show up for my Unmuted with Nina Chantel podcast? I'm asking myself this because I started feeling complacent in my radio career for a little while. I mean, and this happens in life with anything, right? Maybe you're in a relationship and things started getting too comfortable and you don't feel that, romance is as coming to you as abundantly as it used to. You're not feeling those butterflies all the time. Maybe you feel like you're too comfortable, and maybe you are. Maybe you should start talking to your partner about that. But in all honesty, what if you're feeling that way with your career? You're like, I'm just showing up every day, but I'm not excited like I was on my first year, or I don't feel like that degree that I got in college is now like making me feel like, oh, I'm so glad I made it. I'm here. This is what I worked for. These things happen in our lives. So can you still unmute yourself even when you're not riding the wave? Even when you're tired? Because I've been traveling a lot. I've had a lot on my mind. Sometimes there's so many emotions going through you with life changes and personal stuff that you feel emotionally drained. And that's a thing too. You can be tired physically, emotionally, and just tired, period. So I started asking myself that hypothetically. And I'm asking you, can you still unmute yourself? Like, even when the comments aren't coming in like they were week 1 for my Unmuted with Nina Chantel podcast and people were excited about it, am I still going to be able to feel like excited? Because if I'm honest, this week has been a little quiet, not in a bad way, just still. And even when things get still, I start to overthink. I'm human. And maybe you felt that too in your life. Maybe somebody hasn't called you and you're like, did I do something? Are we cool? Maybe in your relationship, you feel like they're not coming to you on a daily basis like they have. You're not getting a certain, good morning text anymore, or you're not getting that communication that you're used to. Maybe it's because that other person's busy and it's got nothing to do with you, but still you can overthink, right? Maybe you felt that too. Like you were so sure at first, so fired up about whatever it is that, is coming to mind when I ask you that. But now the glow's a little dimmer. Now you're wondering, was that it? Did I already say the best thing I had to say? Was that the best part of our relationship? Was that the excitement for my job? And now here we are feeling bored again in a new career that I just started. Whatever it is that you're thinking about when I'm talking to you about this, here's what I'm realizing. That moment where you ask, now what? Now what? That's not doubt. That's not failure. That's the beginning of consistency. That's the doorway to purpose, because purpose isn't about the applause. It's about the assignment. That's how I felt with radio. I was on a top radio station in LA, and anybody that knows that they want to be in media, you know that New York, because of population-wise, is market number 1. Los Angeles is market number 2. Chicago's market number 3, and I can go on with the list, but that's not my point. My point is I was in Los Angeles on a major radio station in drive time, which is a main afternoon drive, okay? And at that time, you know how many people would like to be in that position that I was? That was about applause in my life. But when I was on that station and the things that I felt like, was just not me, I was learning about myself. I was learning about maybe I've outgrown something. Maybe I've outgrown that music or that format or the fact that I'm being told what to do every single day of my life, even on social media, or the fact that I'm not partying too much for you. And let's be honest, sometimes some people are out here, you got to think about how old you are and you're still dressing a certain way or going to those clubs and still dating a certain age group. And at what point do you start to feel like you are maturing? Or maybe you should be mature and you're still caught up in these other ways because that's what you feel that you have to do to keep up. That was about applause. I didn't care to be on a stage anymore. I didn't care to be in the club anymore. I started feeling like that's not me. And I started to learn about myself, and that's okay. That's with anybody. I'm not downing any radio stations. I'm not downing any formats of music. I'm not downing anything with anybody else. I'm giving you me, my unmuted story. I started to feel like I didn't care about applause anymore. This, like Unmuted with Nina Chantel, speaking out loud and finding my purpose in life, that is what I feel when I say it's about the assignment. Because I feel like I'm now talking to people, talking to you, talking to people out there that are going through things that maybe I'm going through as well. And you haven't been able to say it out loud or really sit with your own thoughts right now while you're driving in that car or working or whatever it is, however it is that you're listening right now. Maybe you weren't expecting this, but now you're going through the motions of thinking, you know what? Yeah, I'm doing that for the applause. I'm wearing those high heels every day when I go out, not because I want to look cute, because you should always want to feel confident. I'm doing it because I'm trying to prove myself to somebody else. Maybe you're spending way too much money out in these streets every day because you're trying to prove something to someone else. Do those people matter to you? That's about applause. You need to be living your life when you feel what is good for you for your personal assignment. My personal assignment, what feels good to me, is talking to you and relating to others, feeling like people are on the same page with me and we're inspiring one another. The truth is, this podcast isn't about going viral. It's about going deeper into myself, deeper into the stories that I've avoided, and deeper into conversations that make people feel less alone. That's what Unmuted is. It's not a brand. It's not a practice. It's something I have to choose every single time I sit in front of this mic. I'm starting to share stories with you when I feel small, even when I feel unsure, and even when I feel like, who am I to think that I can help anyone? I don't have a degree in a PhD in this thing, but you know what I do have? Life experiences. What I do have is knowledge and being able to communicate with people throughout the years in different situations, in boardrooms, in business with celebrities, in conversations with real people who call for advice, in moments with people who called because they had nobody else, but they felt like, Nina, I know you. I listen to you on the radio every day. I've heard and dealt with more personal stories with other people than maybe a person who feels that they're an expert on one thing. I can tell you, I have life lessons in several different parts of what you can possibly imagine life lessons could be about. So who am I to think I can help anyone? I think I can. And you know what helps me to get through that feeling? Thinking about someone else's now what? Someone else's now what? Maybe your now what is about parenting or a relationship. You know, I'm thinking about the parenting part of that because I've got friends who, for the first time, their child is off to college and they're like, how did I get here? And how am I already, home alone? Like, how am I supposed to live without doing things for my kid every day or having them around? Now I feel like an empty nester, but I'm too young for that. That's their now what? Or in a relationship. All right, so the spunk is not there anymore. I'm not, feeling, that energy, that romance anymore like I used to. We're not on the same page anymore. He's in that other room watching something else that I'm not interested in. I'm tired. I'm over here in this room watching something that I want to binge watch. Maybe we both end up falling asleep while they're on the couch and I'm in the bed, but, now there's no intimacy. What if you're now in your relationship like, now what? Maybe it's about your job. Like I told you, you could be so excited on day 1 and, week 5 and month 8. And now you're on year 2 and you're like, what am I doing here? The chick that used to sit next to me, I used to like, now she gets on my last nerve. Maybe it's about your job. Now what? Or you're healing. Maybe you feel like, you know what? I'm getting there. I've mourned maybe somebody who's left this earth or mourned a relationship, a breakup. And you're in your healing and you're like, now what? What am I supposed to do with this next? Or your voice that you still haven't used. Maybe you finally set a boundary. You finally spoke up, started the project, ended the thing that was killing you slowly. Bravo for you. You know what you should not be feeling? Like, now what? Because now that it's done and now that you did the scary thing, and you're sitting there with your own whisper, your own quiet moment of, now what? If that's you, I feel you more than you know. I feel you. And I want to tell you this, that quiet space that you're in, it's sacred. Don't rush through it. Do not panic. Just because it's not loud doesn't mean it's not working, because growth isn't always noisy. Purpose isn't always a standing ovation. Sometimes it's just showing up again and again and again. That's what I'm doing right now. I'm choosing to be here, to sit in the quiet, to show up without the hype, to speak up when I'm not 100% sure who's even listening. Because somewhere, someone is waiting to hear their own story inside of mine. And that's what keeps me going. So if you've been feeling stuck or uninspired or just uncertain about what comes after your first bold move, let me be the one to say this. You don't have to have it all figured out. You just have to keep going, one word at a time, one breath at a time, one step closer to becoming who you already are. And I'll leave you with this. You don't need permission to keep showing up. You just need truth. And your truth is enough. Because silence never told the full story. This is Unmuted with Nina Chantel.